The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today. All right, Brooke, what do we got?
All right, we have a question from Hank, who is from Los Angeles, California. And Hank asks, this is a short and sweet question.
Oh, we love those.
Uh-oh, I don't know if it's sweet, though. Are we going to war with Venezuela? That's not so sweet. If yes, what do you think the real purpose is? If no, why the buildup? Oh, excellent question. Thank you, Hank, from Los Angeles. Mark Scott?
Well, I don't want to make predictions because I'm obviously not too good at it. So I'm not going to say whether,
yes, and then nothing will happen.
I'm not going to say that we're going to go to war with Venezuela, but I think they want to really badly. But we know what it's about. It's about the fact that Venezuela has incredible resources of oil, and Trump has never been shy about saying we need to take their oil. He said it about Iraq. He said that was the biggest mistake we made in Iraq, was not taking their oil. He wants this oil. And the crazy part is, from what I read over the weekend, was that this oil is not what we think of when we think of oil. This oil is more like asphalt. And it needs to be mixed with oil from another source, like the light sweet crude that comes out of Texas, in order to be saleable. It's very, very tough to get all the thickness, sulfur, whatever it is, out of this particular oil. And so it requires a combination of other oil. Venezuela doesn't have the resources to do that. The United States does. If we were operating on both sides of the Gulf of Mexico, we would be, or the Caribbean, we would be in really, really good shape to exploit the resources that they have. And I think that that's why there's a carrier group in the Caribbean right now.
Yeah. So you're talking about a degraded oil field, like the Canadian Athabascan tar sands?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Actually, even worse than the tar sands. This is even thicker and more sulfurous than that. The tar sands, bitumen, is very, very thick oil that we don't actually use here. I mean, I think everybody by now should know that the Keystone Pipeline was never going to be about fueling America. It was all going to be sent overseas to be refined there. I mean, you wouldn't refine the oil and then send it overseas, because then you've spent a great deal of money to create a product that you may lose in transit. But I think it's really important to note that the Venezuelan oil is more like asphalt than oil. Okay, so think of it like that. And then what you need to do to it to make it viable for sale is to mix it with a lighter, sweeter crude, the kind that we get from Texas and other shale oil here in the States. And so that creates an entire equation that adds up to something. And that's what Trump wants.
Yeah. Are we going to war with Venezuela? I hope not. Because I think if we did, I don't think we'd achieve the goals that we're trying to, that obviously be trying to achieve. We've always said here, it is easy to fight a country, harder to control it after you've demoralized it. Is this maybe for regime change? And I think there's a lot of people out there that believe that Maduro's got to go, and there needs to be a regime change. The only thing is obviously the Venezuelan people didn't think that way. So who are we to say that this should happen? I agree with Scott's.
Mark, before you go on, I do want to point out he lost that election. He's lost at least two elections that we've seen, and he refuses to leave. I do think that the Venezuelan people have voted him out, and he just refuses to leave. Yeah. And it's kind of like he's got the army, and he's able to say, well, the voters have spoken, but what kind of army do they have?
I agree with Scott that I think that it's probably all about oil. If it was about regime change, maybe getting a regime that was a little bit more friendly to the United States, once again, goes back to oil. This also could.
But then, Mark, just to throw a wrench into that, if you don't mind me going through this process with you. So if the military is what's keeping Maduro in power, and the military seems to be a Maduro insider, let's say, okay, then even if you were to replace Maduro, who would the military allow you to replace him with? And I'm guessing it's probably not that woman who just won the Nobel Peace Prize.
I would almost bet that as well. And again, another good point. But usually when we're talking about militaries and we're talking about when there's coups and there are things like this, if the military can be shown that it is to their advantage to get behind regime change, then sometimes they do have a tendency to follow through with it. I think that this was something that happened in Egypt with Sisi. Sisi basically showed that there was an advantage. The policies didn't really matter all that much to the military. They had the Muslim Brotherhood they were dealing with, but Sisi, who came from the military, was able to show, hey, this is advantageous. And let's in foreign militaries and any military, let's not forget the power of the dollar. If a military leader there supplants Maduro, and as I say, can be shown that this is to his financial and his underlings' financial benefit, you might find that regime change might be a little bit easier. And again, all comes back to this idea of oil. So is there a pathway? Yeah. Do we know all the players? No, we do not. We don't even know who would be next in line onto this. Now, why the buildup? I think it goes back to the last podcast. This might be a distraction. Let's face it. We've sent the largest, most powerful aircraft carrier group down to Venezuela. I mean, who in the heck do we think we're fighting here? We've been in some real wars where we didn't do that. So is this, more show? And again, I don't buy the Trump argument of we're fighting drug trafficking. I think that's a crap. That's a crock of crap. That is not doing it. This is for some other reason. As of yet, like with a lot of Trump policies, we have no clue as to what it really is about. Hell, I'm almost of the belief he has no clue what it's about. So, once again, the hope is we don't go to war with Venezuela. Nobody wants to put American boots on the ground in a country like Venezuela. And no matter what our objectives are, I truly don't think that we would possibly reach them unless we get that right military leader who can replace Maduro, and then money talks. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's a chance. But let's remember, that's always been fragile. And there are so many examples of where the United States has done that. Nicaragua.
Yeah, Vietnam.
There's a laundry list where we've done that, and it came back and bit us in the ass.
Was it Trump who someone said recently that Maduro should go to Cuba or Russia or China or some other place, and that he should just leave? And I thought it was Trump who said that recently.
I mean, okay. I don't think that there's any doubt that Trump wants him out. His first administration, he tried using economic sanctions, right? He cut off their oil, he cut off their mining sectors, he froze their bank accounts. But here's the thing, as Mark says, money talks, so does power. Power talks too. And he stayed in power and he let his people suffer and he didn't care. And if you're willing to do that, and clearly he's willing to do that, then what other weapon do you have against him? The suffering of his people isn't moving him. Maybe an aircraft carrier group will. And I think that that's kind of where we're at. I mean, we know for sure that he lost the election and that he didn't care. We also know that the people who do deal drugs in Venezuela, and it's not fentanyl, by the way, it's almost exclusively cocaine, are the very people who are keeping Maduro in power, and they're mostly like military and other government agents who have a very, very complicated hierarchical sort of structure to them. And, you know, at the very top, they simply skim off the top. They expect to be paid for allowing other people to do the work that they do, to make money dealing drugs or smuggling drugs. And that these people want Maduro in power because he allows them to do that, whereas somebody else might not, and they're going to protect their investment. So if we go to war, we should be ready to really go to war, because this is going to be more like Iraq in the middle part of the 2000s than it's going to be, you know. I think they keep bringing up Noriega, right? It's not going to be like Noriega.
No, it's not. And right. just to clarify, and again, you could take this for what it's worth. In the 2024 election, Venezuela's National Electoral Council did say that Maduro won with 51% of the vote and his opponent only received 44%. You can probably take those numbers with a grain of salt, because guaranteed he probably controls that National Electoral Council. So he probably, I think the general consensus is around the world that yes, he lost the election and it was rigged. So, just to put a little context onto that, as I say, you could take that pronouncement from the National Electoral Council of Venezuela and put as much weight to it as you want. I don't put a lot to it. I totally agree with Scott. He lost the election, but there's where we sit, and I think we're all in agreement that the last thing we need is a war.
And just one other, and it's a small point.
Sure.
I believe a judge in Texas recently ruled that against Trump when it came to the big lie, right? Mm-hmm. There was he was suing, what was it, the BBC or CNN? He was suing CNN for using the term the big lie, and the judge basically said, you know what, it was a big lie. Part of that big lie had to do with Venezuela, right? It was Venezuelan voting machines that Trump was claiming rigged the election against him, even though he was in power at the time, and Joe Biden was a weak old man in a basement somewhere hiding from COVID. So, it doesn't have to make sense if you just keep lying to people and they accept your lies, right? And, we see that all the time. $21 trillion from a country that doesn't even have $21 trillion. That's a good lie. And nobody calls them on the numbers. Nobody says, how is that even possible, sir?
Nobody asks how we can reduce drug prices by 1,500%. Nobody asks about that. Nobody. Okay. I mean, and again, it's very, very true. And we've heard it so many times over the last 10 years. If you repeat a lie long enough and often enough, people then just basically give up and say, okay, fine, it's the truth, or just stop listening. And I think that's where we probably sit. Okay.
Yep. Well, Hitler said that. You repeat it enough and people believe it.
Yep.
So thank you, Hank, for your question.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Sciences, the JICS. This open access journal, double peer-reviewed, provides a platform for emerging scholars to publish their work and engage in meaningful dialogue across disciplines. The JICS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis and is published through the NovaWorks Scholarly Repository at Nova Southeastern University. You'll find a link to the journal in our episode description.